Hereby called to order. Ms. Carleen, can you please conduct roll call?
Mr. Jones.
Here.
Mr. Adams.
Present.
Mr. Grow is absent. Mr. Melvin.
Here.
Mr. Wendell.
Here.
Mr. Perilou is absent. Mr. Otan.
Here.
Ms. Boudreau. Mr. Lorraine. Mr. Chesson.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Carleen. If everyone could please rise, we'll be led in the invocation by Mr. Jim Wendell and followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by T. Boo.
In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. As we gather here tonight, please give us the wisdom and guidance needed to make decisions in the best interest of the residents and visitors of Lafourche Parish. Also, look out for us with the incoming weather systems that are approaching. In your name we pray, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone to the council meeting tonight. If anyone is wishing to address the council during the public wishing to address the council comment period, there are blue forms by the door. Please fill it out and get up to the council clerk. We would appreciate it. Item A, approval of minutes. I entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the October 13th, 2020 regular session. So moved by Mr. Jones, second by Mr. Adams. Any discussion? Mr. Lorraine.
Yes, thank you, sir. I just want to say that at the last meeting, at the very end, there was a heated discussion between myself and Mr. Otan. And so what happened there, I really don't know what happened. I had a call from Ms. Ogeron the next day at 11 a.m. So I called her back. So we had a good conversation. Good conversation. And she wanted to know about Mr. Perilou. And she said that if I used the word fraud, that it could be criminal. Well, first of all, I never used the word fraud. You can't find fraud in the minutes. You can't find it on the tape. Now, I don't know if a councilman called up there and said all this. It's a possibility. But the point I'm trying to make is that, you know, if you're going to accuse me of something, get your facts together. Don't go on hearsay. Get your facts. All you had to do was listen to the tape, and if I said it, I said it. But I didn't say it. I know what I said. Sometimes I get a little out of hand. But like I said, we had a good conversation, and I just thought that, you know, it wasn't said. And I requested the minutes verbatim, and y'all all got a copy of it. I put it by your desk. But all you got to do is go in the computer and get the tape and see what was said. That word never came out. So if I do something wrong, I do something wrong. But I didn't do anything wrong. And the other thing I want to get with Noonie was, let me see. Mr. Perilou missed one meeting on the 3 months. That's probably what you were trying to see. But total, since he was a councilman, he missed 8 regular meetings, he missed 1 on the 3 months, and he missed 4 special meetings. Of course, a lot of people miss special meetings. I missed some myself. But it wasn't just 1. It was 1 on the 3-month period. And that's basically all I have to say, and I just think it was wrong what happened. And we're going to move on from there.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. So what he's referring to is if you look at your minutes, Mr. Lorraine says, because I know what it is, it's an insurance scheme.
Yep.
That's what you stated. So
Yes.
as such, as chairman of the council, I had to investigate that. You say there's an insurance scheme going on. So we properly investigated, found it to be simply theatrics, no baseless, nothing to it. So we good.
Exactly. But scheme and fraud is 2 different words. Somebody said fraud, not me. I know what I can say and what I can't say. Look, when I first got in office, I was in the district attorney's office every week. Now that I got some sense, I don't even know where it's at half the time.
Understood.
But
Once again,
I did say scheme, but I never said fraud.
so I would think that the layperson, most people, when they hear insurance scheme, would assume that to be something criminal.
No, you can't assume. You can't assume. When you're getting accused, you can't assume.
Well, I did. So, and I think
don't put words in it.
And I think it was proper, because once everyone saw the minutes, they said, hey, did
That's
you
fine.
investigate this? Did you vet it? Including people in his district that also saw this. So I think we
That's
followed
fine.
the right guidelines. We investigated. It was theatrics. So we're good.
So there was
Let's move
nothing
on.
wrong, right? Nothing wrong.
I won't say that, because this could end up in litigation with defamation. So I'm not going to get into the particulars of it. But I'm just saying, from our perspective, we looked as much as we could, and we found nothing wrong. So if you know more, as you state, then follow up with it. And I would recommend that you do that, with law enforcement or whoever, as opposed to this body, if you follow me.
I'm just saying that the word fraud was never used.
Okay,
I said it 2-3 times tonight. That's about it.
okay,
Scheme and fraud, well, I went to school, not the same thing.
okay. All right, with that said, any further discussion on the minutes as written? If not, I think did I have a motion on the floor and a second already? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 2 absences, those absences being Mr. Perilou and Mr. Groh. Okay, item B, we have anything, Ms. Corleen? Nothing. We'll move to item C, proclamation. Number 2, proclamation proclaiming November 2020 as Epilepsy Awareness Month. Mr. President, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Whereas epilepsy is a neurological condition that from time to time produces brief disturbances in the normal electrical functions of the brain and is characterized by recurrent, unprovoked seizures. And whereas epilepsy is one of the most common chronic neurological disorders, and an estimated 50 million people worldwide have epilepsy. Most epilepsy begins at extreme ages in childhood and old age, but new cases can develop at any age depending on the cause. Whereas epilepsy, tragically shrouded in myth, ignorance, and fear, and too often work to deprive those with epilepsy of the opportunities that will enable them to achieve the normal, active, and productive life, thus causing undue suffering. And whereas medical advances have been made to assist many persons with epilepsy in achieving seizure control and normal functioning. Now I, therefore, Archie Chesson III, Parish President of Lafourche, do hereby proclaim November 2020 as Epilepsy Awareness Month, and do hereunto set forth my signature and cause to have the official seal of Lafourche Parish, State of Louisiana, on this 27th day of October 2020. I think Mr. Ron Sapier is here to get the proclamation.
Ron, you're more than welcome to make a statement if you like. Thank you very much. Mr. Ron Saab, if you don't mind, Ron, just state your name and address for the record.
There we go. Ron Sapier, 110 Bourgeois Street, Rayson, Louisiana, 70394. I just want to have a few comments because this is kind of important to me. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council, citizens of Lafourche, everyone watching online and at home. Thank you, Archie. I really appreciate this. I am now volunteering for the Epilepsy Alliance for Louisiana. So I'm receiving a proclamation on epilepsy tonight. I was supposed to be receiving one tomorrow night in Terrebonne, which it doesn't look like that's going to happen. I've received one from Lockport, and I've received one from the mayor of Thibodaux, Tommy Ushte, doing the same thing that this does. So I've had epilepsy in the past, and I went to college having epilepsy. And Archie and I actually commuted back and forth to Nichols because I had epilepsy. And of course, when you have epilepsy, you can't drive. So Archie was my chauffeur at one time. Thanks. Secondly, the number that's not in here, but it's an important number, 1 in 26. 1 in 26 people in America have epilepsy. I think it's 200,000 total across the country, 1 in 26. And I saw you, Mr. Melvin, you were like shocked by that number. You're gonna be shocked by this number. Out of those 1 in 26, out of 5 of them, only 2 of them know that they have epilepsy. The other 3 don't know. You have to realize that you can have I'm going to talk about seizures, and I'm going to explain the difference with epilepsy and seizure, but you can have a seizure and not even know you have it. A small headache, dizziness, maybe you just go sit down, that may actually be a seizure. And it occurs in a lot of children, young children, and they just thankfully they are able to grow out of it. But with adults, I mean, there's all different types of things. With my fight with epilepsy, I went through 11 different medicines over 5 years maybe. And there's 2 of those 11 that I'm taking right now and that I'm fine. So the difference between epilepsy and seizures. Seizures means that you've had a seizure. So once you had a seizure, no matter what kind, what type, I know when y'all think seizures, y'all thinking of a big grand mal seizure, when somebody falls on the floor and they start shaking. I've had those, but anything from that to that little dizziness spell to a headache, and you maybe just take a pain pill when it goes away, you go lay down on the chair and you recline or something like that at home, that could have been a seizure. So I kind of want to explain the difference between how major of a seizure you can have and minor of a seizure you can have, and it's still being a seizure, okay? And now I'm going to explain you the difference between epilepsy and seizures. Seizure is if you actually had it, and then once you have a seizure, from the time of your birth till current day, you have epilepsy, or you are an epileptic, is the language it's really used. So with that, I want to thank everybody again. If you have any questions, I know Councilman Otan, you're probably very familiar with it, with all your emergency rescue, education, and stuff like that. You probably have responded to that. I mean, you could have done that in car wrecks, the fires, to all different sorts of things.
Many, it's very common. Thank you, Ron. We appreciate you coming up here
Okay.
and receiving that proclamation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all. Thank you, Archie.
Thanks again, Mr. President.
I'm going to shut.
Item D, presentations and/or updates. Do we have any? Mr. President?
Mr. Chairman, not really an update. I just want to take a moment. Last week, we lost an employee at the Galena field office, Mr. Edward Boo Boo Thibodeau, who they laid to rest this morning. So just our condolences and our prayers go out to Boo Boo's family, his brother Jody, and all of his nieces and nephews. He had worked for us for almost 30 years, dedicated equipment operator at the Galena field office. I just wanted to take a moment to memorialize him. So thank you, sir.
Absolutely. If you don't mind, we'll just bow our heads and we'll take a moment of silence. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for that information, Archie. Item E, engineers, architect reports. I know we got some in the audience. Any of them want to come up and give a report? Engineer, architects. All right. You have the mic. Just state your name and address for the record.
Matt Rodrick, Duplantis Design Group, 314 East Bayou Road. We have a presentation, I believe.
She has a clicker for you.
All right. It's a good one, huh? And if need be, I can run through our project here too. If for whatever reason it won't come up.
Go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to start with our Timberland Pump Station project. We're in the design phase on that project. Currently, FEMA is reviewing requests from additional funding and an RFI response we provided. It's moving on to our parish-wide pump station drainage project. So GOSEP is currently reviewing revised scope of work based on the current needs of the existing pump station, and then also based on some future North Lafourche Levee District improvements. Let's see. The next project is the Layton Pump Station Improvements Project. The status of that project is we're on the pre-bidding phase. GOSEP is currently also reviewing that project for a revised scope based on the current needs of the parish. The Lafourche Community Center project. The community center building is 100% complete, and we have started working on some conceptual planning and cost estimating items for the recreational improvements behind the community center. The next project is our ongoing street light permitting with the parish. So we're currently complete with the batch of permits the last batch of permits we've gotten from the parish, and we're kind of holding off until we get the next group of 5 to move forward with those for permits. So the next project is the additions and renovations to the Thibodeau Library. That project is currently under construction with Betco. And we're approximately 70% complete on construction on that project. And the substantial completion date has recently been extended to January 5th, 2021. The last project I have to update is the Coastal Center programming building. Our scope of work on that project is kind of a site selection, building programming, and schematic design phase. We have completed the schematic design, and the full project deliverables have been sent to the parish and coastal task force committee. So that's the update on the Duplantis projects.
Okay, very good. We're not going to be able to get that presentation up? Okay. Well, thank you. We appreciate the report anyhow.
Thank you.
Any other engineers and/or architect reports? Okay, there being none, we'll move to item F, public wishing to address the council, public hearings, agenda items, et cetera. Ms. Carlene, you have any?
I have none for, right now, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Item G is going to be public hearing, which has to occur at 6 p.m. So we'll continue on. I guess that brings us to item I. Is that correct, Ms. Carlene? Item I. Because once again, we have to come back to the those other public hearing items at exactly 6 p.m. Item I, public hearing and ordinances for ratification. I entertain a motion to open public hearing. So moved by Mr. Wendell, second by Ms. Boudreau. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 2 absences. Those absences being Mr. Groh and Mr. Perilou. Item 16, ordinance prohibiting skateboarding and the riding of scooters on the South Lafourche Levee and Golden Meadow Boat Launch for safety reasons. Moved by Mr. Lorraine, second by Mr. Wendell. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item 16? 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. Anyone from the council? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Mr. Groh and Mr. Perilou. Item 17, ordinance approving Civic Source to publicly advertise and auction the adjudicated property located on Tellis Street, Berg, Louisiana, 70343, assessment number 80413818800, due to non-payment of ad valorem property taxes and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Mr. Wendell will move on behalf of the administration, second by Ms. Boudreau. Anyone from the public would like to comment on item 17? 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. Anyone from the council? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Mr. Groh and Mr. Perilou. Item 18, ordinance accepting the subdivision known as Heritage Heights Subdivision Phase 2 into the parish system. Mr. Wendell will move on behalf of the administration, second by Ms. Boudreau. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item 18? One time, two times, three times. Anyone from the council? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences, those absences being Mr. Brewer and Mr. Perillo. Item 19, ordinance providing for a 2020 supplemental appropriation 20-034 within the 2020 operations and maintenance budget to cover the cost of a lease purchase for 17 vehicles for the Department of Public Works, field offices, and the Buildings and Maintenance Department, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said transactions as provided for by Article 6 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter. Moved by Mr. Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Adams. Would anyone from the public like to comment on number 19? One time, two times, three times. Anyone from the council? Mr. Lorraine.
Yes, where do we need 6 trucks in road sales tax to?
Mr. President, you want to answer that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Those are gonna be split between the Lockport and Galliana field offices.
Do you realize you can't get out the district?
Those trucks are gonna go in the district.
No, you could park it, but you can't use it out of the district. I got an opinion here. Opinion number 15006. Remember when I had trouble with the shells? You could stockpile them, but you can only use them in the district. Lockport's not in the district. Half of Lockport's in the district. Where the Bourne is at, they're not in the district. And it says right here, the council has also inquired whether the parish may use road sales tax 2 rocks and gravel on projects outside the district boundaries. Use of road sales tax 2 rocks, gravel, any other, that's vehicles too. Road sales tax 2 owned properties on projects located outside the district boundaries would be prohibited. Now, I would amend it. I'm not against buying it, but I just don't see buying 6 trucks out of road sales tax 2. It don't make sense. I'd like to amend it to buy 2 vehicles.
So
Okay, so you want to make an amendment from the floor,
To
Mr.
buy
Lorraine?
2 vehicles, that would be fair.
Okay, do you want him to write that? Can you write that down, Ms. Lorraine?
2 trucks.
So we can get it to the council,
Pass it. Well, I'm gonna go give it to him.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a
ahead,
I'll make a statement while he's writing it up. So I kind of see where Mr. Lorraine's coming from to a certain extent. But, I mean, we can work those 2 vehicles inside of Road 2. But I will say for the last 6 years, Mr. Lorraine's equipment from that particular barn's been moved around by a lowboy truck that was bought with road sales tax district A money that goes down to buy at least once a week. And I didn't hear him complaining about that. So I'm a little wondrous why all of a sudden we're concerned about that. But let him make his amendment.
Okay, so we can discuss it on the amendment. Right now, so if I understand, we have an amendment on the floor to change the 6 trucks from rural sales tax district 1 to 2 trucks. Is that, that's your amendment? You got that, Ms. Corleen? Okay, can I get a second for that amendment? Second for that amendment. Okay, so we got a second on the floor by Mr. Adams. At this time, we'll allow anyone from the public to comment on the amendment, which is reducing 6 trucks from rural sales tax district 1 to 2 trucks. Would anyone from the public like to comment on this? 1 time, 2 times, 3 times? Anyone from the council? Mr. Adams?
Yes, sir. So Port of Lockport, you saying, is in that district?
When the district was created, I don't know if you're familiar with the power lines, about 2 miles below the Valentine Bridge. That's where the boundary is at.
So it stops at the Valentine Bridge?
It's before that.
Before that?
South of that.
Before that. Now, the Bourne is in Lockport, but it's not in the district. To be honest with you, we could buy a truck for Golden Meadow because they're in the district. They're the only municipality that's in the district.
So you saying is the fact that the Bourne's not in
I'm
the
saying
district,
that
but the
why
trucks are
should
gonna
we buy
work in
6
that
or 7 trucks when you can't put them all at Region D?
I understand that, but what I'm saying is the trucks are going to work in that district. They're just parking them at the Bourne, so you have an issue where they parked?
You
So
can't,
if we had land on the other side, can we park it there? You'd be all right?
Listen,
I mean, we just talking about parking.
you can't get out the district.
That's fine. Let's find a piece of land over there and park it in a parking spot, and then you'd be good? I mean, is that what you're arguing about, a parking spot?
Yeah,
Okay.
you can't get out the
Well,
district.
let's find a parking
Okay.
spot and park it over there.
And I can give you an example. We got Drainage District 1. We bought 4 vehicles in the last 2 years, and we got only 1. And we're going to straighten that up too. They're being used all over the place. That's why you got a district.
Okay. Anyone else have any further discussion on the amendment? This is the amendment to reduce from 6 to 2 out of road sales tax District 1. No further discussion. We'll move this to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed say nay. Nay. Nays, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Abstain.
Mr. Melvin abstains. So the amendment fails with 1 yea, 5 nays, 1 abstention, that abstention being Mr. Melvin, and 2 absences, those absences being Mr. Pearl and Mr. Groh. You have that, Ms. Carlene? Okay, so the amendment fails, so we'll go back to the original ordinance. I've already asked, so I will offer one more time if anyone from the public would like to comment on this ordinance. 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, anyone from the council? If not, now we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 6 yeas, 1 nay.
Abstain.
And, I'm sorry, 5 yeas, 1 nay, 1 abstention, 2 absences. Those absences being Mr. Groh and Mr. Pearlou. The 1 abstention being Mr. Melvin. The 1 nay being Mr. Lorraine. So we straight, Ms. Carlene? All right. Very good. Thank you all. Item 20, ordinance, a second supplemental ordinance amending and supplementing ordinance number 4116 adopted on August 28, 2007, the general bond ordinance, providing for the issuance of not exceeding $12 million in aggregate principal amount of taxable public improvement revenue refunding bonds of Consolidated Sales Tax District A of the Parish of Lafourche, State of Louisiana, pursuant to the general bond ordinance, approving and confirming the sale of such bonds to the purchasers thereof, prescribing the form, fixing the details, and providing for the payment of principal of and interest on such bonds and the application of the proceeds thereof, and providing for other matters in connections therewith. Moved by Mr. Adams for the administration, second by Mr. Jones. Anyone from the public would like to comment? I think we do have one. Mr. Block, just state your name and address for the record, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Harold Block, 408 West 3rd Street, Thibodaux, Louisiana. Jim Ryan asked me to apologize. He couldn't be here tonight. He's in, I believe, Tangipahoa Parish, pricing a bond issue. Mr. Chairman, council members, this is basically a refinancing of bonds that were issued earlier on. And basically, we anticipate issuing $10,580,000 worth of bonds at about a 1.48% interest rate. They will mature March 1st, 2027, and we anticipate a savings to the parish between now and then of about $214,000. Now, of course, we won't set the rate until about November the 16th. If rates go down, there'll be a larger savings. If rates go up, there'll be a higher savings. Let me rephrase that. If rates go down, there'll be a higher savings. If rates go up, there'll be a lower savings. But there's got to be a minimum amount of savings for us to go forward with this transaction. If everything goes according to plan, the bonds will be priced on November the 16th, and we anticipate a closing right before Christmas on December the 17th. Any questions, Mr. Chairman?
Anyone from the council have any questions for Mr. Block? No, sir. Thank you very much for that information.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Would anyone from the public like to comment on this ordinance? 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. Anyone from the council wants to discuss this anymore? There be none. We'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Mr. Groh and Mr. Pearlou. Item 21, ordinance amending ordinance number 6401 that amended ordinance number 6281, 6301, 6311, and 6327, which adopted the 2020 operations and maintenance and capital budget for Lafourche Parish Council, as well as setting the salaries of unclassified employees as provided for by Article 5 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter. Moved by Mr. Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Adams. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item 21? 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. Anyone from the council? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Mr. Groh and Mr. Pearlou. Item 22, ordinance approving Civic Source to publicly advertise and auction the adjudicated property located on Morristown Street, Racine, Louisiana, 70394, assessment number 0031037300, due to non-payment of ad valorem property taxes, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Mr. Wendell will move on my behalf for the administration, second by Ms. Boudreau. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item 22? One time, two times, three times. Anyone from the council? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Mr. Perilou and Mr. Grow. Item 23, ordinance approving Civic Source to publicly advertise and auction the adjudicated property located at 128 West 80th Street, Cutoff, Louisiana, 70345, assessment number 8101790810, due to non-payment of ad valorem property taxes, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Moved by Ms. Boudreau for the administration, second by Mr. Window. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item 23? One time, two times, three times. Anyone from the council? There being none, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Mr. Grow and Mr. Perilou. Item 24, ordinance approving Civic Source to publicly advertise and auction the adjudicated property located at 163 East 96th Street, Galliano, Louisiana, 70354, assessment number 0102308010, due to non-payment of ad valorem property taxes, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Lorraine for the administration. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Wendell. Would anyone from the public like to comment? One time, two times, three times. Anyone from the council? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Mr. Grow and Mr. Perilou. Brings us to item J, proposed ordinances. Mr. Melvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Proposed ordinances number 25. Proposed ordinance providing
Chairman.
for...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Excuse me, I'm so sorry. You need to close. You need a motion,
okay.
second to close.
Very good. Okay, I got a motion on the floor to close public hearing by Mr. Adams, second by Mr. Jones. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Mr. Grow and Mr. Perilou. And Ms. Boudreau stepped out the room at 17:33, Ms. Carleen. Okay, sorry about that. Item J, Mr. Melvin, proposed ordinances.
Yes, thank you. Proposed ordinance, okay, number 25, proposed ordinance providing for a 2020 supplemental appropriation 20-035 within the 2020 operations and maintenance budget to cover the cost of an engine repair to Butch Hill number 5 and deobligate funds remaining from Butch Hill number 4 project 18006, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said transactions as provided by Article 6 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter by Mr. Wendell for the administration. 26, proposed ordinance providing for a variance from the installation of a fire hydrant in the proposed redivision of property to Paul Dufresne III into Track 1 and Track 2 as not recommended by the Lafourche Parish Planning Commission by Ms. Boudreau for the administration. Number
Mr.
27.
Chairman, Ms. Boudreau's out
She
the
stepped
room.
out, Mr.
Oh,
Wendell.
I'm sorry. Somebody wants to move for Ms. Boudreau?
Wendell, yeah.
Okay. Move by Mr. Wendell for Ms. Boudreau. Number 27, proposed ordinance approving for an act of donation between Lafourche Parish Government and the Lafourche Area Agency on Aging, Lafourche Council on Aging Incorporated, for the donation of one 2013 Ford E450 van, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said donation and any and all relevant documents. Move by Mr. Jones for administration. And Ms. DeLynn is moved back into the room at 5:34 p.m. Proposed ordinance number 28, approving an act of donation between Lafourche Parish Government and the Lafourche Area Agency on Aging, Lafourche Council on Aging Incorporated, for the donation of one 2013 Goshen coach, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said donation and any all relevant documents. Mr. Jones for the administration. That's it.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Melvin. Appreciate that. Okay, brings us to item K, resolutions. Number 29, resolution amending resolution number 20-255 that accepted the low quote of CanDoc Incorporated in the amount, scratch out was $19,350.70 to $21,764.49 for the purchase of a floating dock for the Lockport boat launch, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Mr. Wendell will move on my behalf of the administration. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Lorraine. Any discussion by the council? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Mr. Grow and Mr. Perilou. Item 30, resolution approving an agreement between the Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness, GOSEP, and Lafourche Parish Government relating to public assistance funding for Hurricane Laura disaster declaration, FEMA-DR4559-LA, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Mr. Wendell will move on behalf of the administration. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Adams. Would anyone from the council like to discuss? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences, those absences being Mr. Grote and Mr. Perilou. Item 31, resolution approving an agreement between the Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness, GOSEP, and Lafourche Parish Government relating to public assistance funding for Hurricane Sally disaster declaration, FEMA-EM-3543-LA, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Wendell on my behalf of the administration, second by Ms. Boudreau. Would anyone from the council like to discuss? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences, those absences being Mr. Grote and Mr. Perilou. Item 32, resolution approving amendment number 1 to the agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and All South Consulting Engineers, LLC, for the Bayou Lafourche Multi-Use Path Lafourche Parish Government Center Trailhead Project, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said amendment and any and all relevant documents. Mr. Wendell will move on Mr. Grote's behalf of the administration, second by Ms. Boudreau. Would anyone like to comment or discuss this item from the council? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences, those absences being Mr. Grote and Mr. Perilou. Item 33, resolution approving an agreement between the Second Harvest Food Bank of Greater New Orleans and Acadiana and Lafourche Parish Government to distribute commodities made available by the United States Department of Agriculture to eligible soup kitchens, food banks, food pantries, and emergency feeding organizations, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Adams. Would anyone from the council like to discuss? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences, those absences being Mr. Grote and Mr. Perilou. Item 34, resolution approving an agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and Duplantis Design Group, PC, for engineering services for the project titled Lockport Community Center Recreation Facilities Layout, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Mr. Wendell will move on behalf of the administration. Can I get a second? Second by Ms. Boudreau. Any discussion? Mr. Lorraine.
Yeah, I have some discussion. Exactly what are we doing?
Mr. President, you want to answer that one?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a contract for Duplantis to start the design of the ball fields and I guess the second, what we'll call the second phase of the community center in Lockport.
Are you aware of the wetlands down there?
As far as I'm aware, Mr. Lorraine, there was no wetland determination done on that back portion of the property. There was a piece done for the grant for the community itself, but there has been no wetland delineation done on the back of that property. The
back of the property, there's no wetlands, but you got a bunch of wetlands to get to it, and I don't think you can go through it. But let me just say this. This has been going on probably for about 15 years in Charlotte's administration. We were given a piece of property on 308, given to us. We didn't take it because you couldn't add on, so sad. It should have been built in Lockport. That was the plans. And I'm going to tell you, I supported it. I didn't realize they had that much wetlands right there. I thought it was just a little piece. It's far from a little piece if you get the map. In fact, I got it right here. It's pretty 60% wetlands, I can tell you that. So how can you develop wetlands? You're going to mitigate. That's the 80,000 to 100,000 an acre. But you know, we keep adding to this, and that's fine. He needs to go get a tax pass. We can't keep paying off the top. Bayou Blue was told the other day, Mr. Wendell was told, we gave him something the other meeting, and he said, and you said, now you're going to have to start using your tax because they passed the tax. So they got to come up with a tax. We can't keep paying and paying and paying. And I've always supported it. but you're not gonna enlarge nothing there because of the wetlands. You shouldn't even be cutting the grass. Check them wetlands out good, bro. That's some serious business. You know? I'm gonna give you a copy of the map. I got it right here. It ain't good. When I was told they had some wetlands, I thought it was a little bit. And when I got that map, I was in shock. Because you're not gonna mess with the Corps. In fact, you ought to know, because we're still in trouble in Choctaw over there. We never did the road yet. Or wherever it's at, somewhere back there. Where?
Okay, yeah, we focus right now on hiring the planners design group, for engineering services.
I just think that they need to go get them a tax.
Agreed.
And hey, look, I'll help you support that. But I can't keep feeding you and feeding you and feeding you with all the other areas that need help too.
Yeah.
Wendell did it.
They did.
And, you know, that's what it's going to take.
I will say, Mr.
But where
Lane,
does it stop?
this is budgeted money, right? This is no new money. This is money that was already budgeted. So it's already in the budget. But as far as the tax, unfortunately with the reassessment, the information that what do they call those, the Foley and, the bonding attorneys, the information they needed got delayed to, I think it's November 8th. So until November 8th, the Recreation District number 1 won't have the information. They're hoping to get it on the ballot in April. But that's been the holdup, is this whole reassessment and getting the proper information to make sure we're not over. They want to be very careful to not overtax the people.
I understand that, but a lot of times if, you know, nobody wants to tax nobody, but to get something, you got to pass a tax.
Agreed.
Look,
But that's where it stands. But they have rolled it out. They've actually been engaging a bonding attorney for quite some time. They're just waiting on the reassessment numbers from Wendy, which are scheduled for November 8th to be given to.
But what I'm saying, Norman, you know, I understand that, but we just can't keep giving and giving. We got community centers down the bayou that we're doing everything in our power. If it wouldn't be for the people to help us, the doors would close. The doors would close. You don't have to ask me. You can ask the lady right there. She runs one. Without the volunteers, we'd be shut down. And you're looking at a lot of money to run these facilities. And that's just my opinion. And I supported it. But I just can't keep giving and giving and giving.
Thank you, Ms. Lorraine. Anyone else have any discussion on it? We're on item 34. There being none, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 6 yeas, 1 nay, that nay being Mr. Lorraine, and 2 absences, those absences being Mr. Grover and Mr. Parallel. Item 35, resolution approving agreement between the U.S. Department of Interior, National Park Service, Jean Lafitte National Historic Park and Preserve, Lafourche Parish Government, and the Lafourche Parish Library for the use of the Percy Lobdo Building, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Lorraine for the administration. Can I get a second by Mr. Adams? Anyone like to discuss from the council? Mr. Lorraine.
What is it about?
Mr. President, you want to comment on what this is?
So I know Ms. Sanders is here as the library director, but as I understand it, this is the agreement for them to use the upstairs portion of the Jean Lafitte building as their headquarters. Yeah, I thought that was right.
I think when this first started, the council, we're back in the 80s, we put up a bunch of money. And then the council actually had it. And then it was given to the library. And then years later, the library gave it, the parish actually took it from the library because it's their building. It's not for the library. And the parish made a deal with the forest. And that's why you had a 50-year lease there. Didn't cost nothing. We got about 30 or 33 years left. And I think the problem is with keys to get in and out, I believe, I'm not sure. And that's what this is all about?
Mr. President?
Okay.
Any further discussion?
No.
Thank you, Mr. Lorraine. Okay, if no one else has any discussion, we'll move item 35 to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences, those absences being Mr. Grover and Mr. Farrelly. Item 36, resolution approving a memorandum of understanding between Lafourche Parish Government and Gulf Coast Housing Partnership Incorporated to outline cooperation regarding the Gulf Coast Housing Partnership Incorporated project, La Maison du Bayou Lafourche, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said memorandum of understanding and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Adams. Anyone from the council like to discuss this? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences, those absences being Mr. Grote and Mr. Pearlou.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
We're going to pull item 37.
Item 37, Ms. Boudreaux, you good with the administration pulling that, I'm assuming? So we've pulled it. 37 is pulled. Item 38, resolution approving an application agreement with Emeritus to provide voluntary employee dental and vision benefits effective January 1st, 2021 for all full-time employees of the Lafourche Parish government, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said application agreement and any and all relevant documents. This is moved by Mr. Adams for the administration, second by Mr. Jones. Anyone like to discuss? Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to cover, I guess, items 38 through 41 all in this kind of one fell swoop. Buddy Leday from Gallagher is here if you have any specific questions about any one of the agreements. But as we talked about, I guess, a few months ago when we approved their agreement to be our broker of record, they've spent the last couple of months really going to the market and fighting for us. So just a couple of quick statistics. If we would have stayed with the current GAP plan, which I've made it very clear over the course of the meetings that the employees really don't care for, it would have been about a 26.5% increase to the parish and to the employees if we would have stayed with that plan. Because of the hard work Buddy and them did, we're going back to a traditional Blue Cross Blue Shield plan, no gap coverage, your standard copays, standard co-insurance, and it's very close to the plan that we had pre-2016. So it gets the employees back to what they had been typically used to for about 15 or so, 20 years. By doing that, we only had an increase of about 18%. We had budgeted for about a 25% increase, so we're going to save the parish some money. But more importantly to me, on the back end, we're going to take the employees down, and I'm going to use myself as an example, of paying upwards of about $240 a month just for the major medical. We're going to take these guys on a family plan down to about $240 a month. The average every day, just the regular employees will go from, I guess, about $40 a month down to 30. So we're going to save the employees a tremendous amount of money on this deal. And I added up myself. I can do the major medical, the vision, the top tier, the dental, and the top tier of the vision, all for cheaper a month than what we're paying now for just the major medical. So what we told the employees this year was when we did the budget, we weren't going to budget for a merit increase. We were just doing COLA, because the back end of this, your quote-unquote pay increase was going to be your savings on the health insurance. And we were able to accomplish that. So Buddy has, I think, a couple more statistics if you have any questions for him. But with that, I'd appreciate the support.
Very good. Anyone have any questions of the president on any of this? My only question is, I was glad that we went back to Buddy because it's seemingly local. Did they use that in their vetting process or in their consideration of taking our taxpayer dollars and trying to keep them in this area? Was that factored in, or was it just go for the lowest price wherever in the country it's at? I know that was one of my personal feelings. Was encouraged to stay local with your group.
Yeah, Buddy Leday, 2000 Audubon Avenue, Suite E. Delilah Baudouin. Delilah, if you want to come up, Delilah is actually the one who did most of the work, so I'm going to give credit where credit's due. She's my senior account manager in my office, and she does all the marketing going out to markets. Unfortunately, Nudie, there's not a lot of Louisiana-based companies other than Blue Cross Blue Shield of Louisiana. So to answer your question, the one Louisiana-based major insurer that we can go to, we're going to be going to them on the medical insurance, which is the biggest piece. As far as the dental, just a couple of quick things, because that's what this resolution is about, dental and vision with Emeritus. What we look to do is, one, get higher payouts for the employees. Very few dentists are in network around this area. So what we look at is what are the payouts? What is the insurance company going to pay to the dentist for a certain procedure? And then we vet that out across the board amongst many, many different carriers. What we were able to do is get Emeritus to pay versus the 90th percentile where you were at the 95th. So everybody's going to get more money paid to the dentist, so less chance of getting balance billed. That was a big thing. Also added endodontics and periodontics across the board, where it was only included on the high plan before. And we decreased the rates on dental by 9% across the board.
just by going out and doing negotiations on y'all behalf. Also, there's no waiting periods on this particular plan. People could get on if they had a tooth problem, immediately get it taken care of without having to wait because it was a pre-existing condition on a tooth or something like that. Lastly, we got 3-year rate guarantees, so this won't come up again for 3 years. So again, Delilah did a great job on the dental. On the vision, the biggest thing on the vision was to get a network that included all the local doctors. So that, keeping your money local, you want to talk about that. Every single doctor in Lafourche Parish accepts the Emeritus Vision Plan through the VSP network, okay? That was very important. I think you remember the last meeting, one entity within the parish actually did their own VSP network program because it was that important to them. Now everybody in the parish is going to have a VSP network, which includes all of the local doctors. So I've already spoke to several different eye doctors in the area who are very excited that the parish is going back to the VSP program. We were able to do this because while United Healthcare is a great company and we felt good about giving them the last look, we were kind of hamstrung. As long as we kept medical with United, you had to keep dental and vision to get discounts on the medical side. So we were able to go to Blue Cross. We did give United every chance to keep it on the medical, but then it opened up the doors to go to any dental and vision carrier we wanted to, and Emeritus gave us the best option. So for for number 38, if you want to just stick to that, that's where we are in dental and vision and why we're recommending Emeritus.
Okay, thank you, and I'll just state I'm not on any of the programs, insurance here, as I have it with my business, and thank God my wife keeps track of it, because everything you just said was pretty much over my head. If anyone else would like to engage them and understands any of this, so I'm just glad to hear some of it was local. Mr.
I just have
Melvin.
a question, but it's about item 42, and I have no problem with the benefit. I just wanted to make sure on the critical care, that does include cancer of some form? Because I know sometimes cancer is separate, but y'all doing group, right?
Yeah, if you want to jump
Okay.
to that one real quick. The biggest thing on that one is it's critical illness with cancer,
Right.
including recurrent benefit,
Okay.
Bo, which is huge.
And look, I'm familiar with these guys. I know them. I used to work with them years ago. We were affiliated with the same company. So I have no problem voting for this because it's not affiliated with me. However, my only question is, that's an enrollment company. So again, like anybody, we always want to try to keep as many local dollars in the parish as we can. So they're going to come and enroll it. I get it. That money goes to Baton Rouge. So who's going to be filing the claims for them or helping out with the parish claims for the supplemental?
We're the front line, always.
Okay.
Gallagher Thibodeau office, okay?
I'm just making sure.
And we
'cause I don't-
engage this firm because Gallagher does have those resources internally to enroll. But actually, this is more local than our Gallagher resources out of Alabama, being honest. Our enrollment firm of Gallagher is in Birmingham. These folks are based out of Baton Rouge, but our representative is from Lafourche Parish. Her name's Elise Io. She couldn't be here today. She's from Lafourche. She lives in Lafourche. So we wanted to deal with local people.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure to, assure
Yep.
the employees that, and while I wish it was more local and not just an enrollment company, it is what it is, but I appreciate that you're here and that they're going to have local.
Yeah, and the owner is actually a Nichols grad, played baseball for Nichols, so a lot of local ties there.
Good deal. Thank you, buddy. Thank you, Delilah. Appreciate it.
You want me to
Okay.
stay up for the other ones too, if there's any questions?
If no one may have any questions, we'll
All
see.
right.
So back to item 38. Anyone have any follow-up questions from the council? If not, we'll move this one to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences, those absences being Mr. Groy and Mr. Perillo. Item 39, resolution approving an application agreement with Equitable to provide supplemental insurance effective January 1st, 2021 for all full-time employees of Lafourche Parish Government and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said application agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Ms. Adams for the administration, second by Mr. Jones. Anyone like to discuss this? There being none, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences, those absences being Mr. Groy and Mr. Perillo. Item 40, resolution amending resolution number 20-267 that approved a consulting agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and Gallagher Benefit Services Incorporated to provide consulting and brokerage services and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Ms. Adams for the administration, second by Mr. Jones. Would anyone like to discuss this? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences, those absences being Mr. Groy and Mr. Perillo. Item 41, resolution approving an application agreement with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Louisiana for employee health coverage and COBRA benefits provided through WageWorks effective January 1st, 2021, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said application agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Adams for the administration, second by Mr. Jones. Would anyone like to discuss this? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences, those absences being Mr. Grow and Mr. Paraloo. Item 42, resolution approving an agreement with AGM Benefit Solutions LLC to provide supplemental insurance benefits and to administer a Section 125 cafeteria plan for all full-time employees of Lafourche Parish government effective January 1st, 2021, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and applications and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Ms. Adams for the administration, second by Mr. Jones. Would anyone like to discuss this? There being none, move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences, those absences being Mr. Grow and Mr. Paraloo. Item 43, resolution approving amendment number 1 to the cooperative endeavor agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and the Cutoff Youth Center for maintenance, repairs, and operations at the Cutoff Youth Center, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said amendment and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Wendell for the administration. Got a second by Mr. Lorraine. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 6 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention. That abstention being Ms. Boudreau, 2 absences, those absences being Mr. Grow and Mr. Paraloo. And with that said, we are coming up on 6 p.m. I entertain a motion to deviate back to item G. So moved by Mr. Melvin, second by Mr. Adams. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences, those absences being Mr. Grow and Mr. Paraloo. I got 6. Item G, 2020 millages public hearing and public meeting at 6 p.m. I entertain a motion to open public hearing and public meeting for the 2020 millages. So moved by Mr. Adams, second by Mr. Jones. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences, those absences being Mr. Grow and Mr. Paraloo. Item 3, discussion to levy not rolling forward 2020 millage rates for the following: drainage, health and library, council on aging, drainage district parish-wide, general alimony, health unit, library 017, public buildings, library 014, recreational facilities, road district number 1, special service district number 1, veterans memorial district ward 10. Would anyone from the public like to comment on any of these items? 1 time, 2 times, 3 times? Anyone from the council? If not, I'll entertain a motion to close public hearing and public meetings for the 2020 millages. So moved by Mr. Wendell, second by Ms. Boudreau. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, and 2 absences. Those absences being Mr. Grow and Mr. Paraloo. Okay, item H, public hearing and public meeting and ordinances for ratification. A voice roll call vote will be taken on each of these ordinances. On the final signed copy of each ordinance, each council member's name shall be noted as to which way they voted, next to yeas, nays, abstain, or absent. With that said, I entertain a motion to open public hearing and public meeting. So moved by Mr. Adams, second by Mr. Jones. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences, those absences being Mr. Grow and Mr. Paraloo. Okay, item 4, ordinance amending ordinance number 6367 that levied and imposed taxes for 2020 on all the property subject to taxation in the parish of Lafourche, drainage, health, and library due to receipt of updated numbers. Moved by Mr. Adams for the administration. Got a second by Mr. Wendell. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item number 4? 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. Anyone from the council? There being none, we'll move this to a roll call vote. Mr. Lorraine? Yes. Ms. Boudreau? Yes. Mr. Wendell?
Yes.
Mr. Oten, yes. Mr. Melvin?
Yes.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences are Mr. Grow and Mr. Paraloo. We good, Ms. Carleen? Okay, item 5, ordinance amending ordinance number 6376 that levied and imposed taxes for 2020 on all the property subject to taxation in the parish of Lafourche, council on aging, due to receipt of updated numbers. Moved by Mr. Adams for the administration, second by Mr. Jones. Would anyone from the public like to comment on this? 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. Anyone from the council? There being none, we'll move it to a vote. I'll start on this side. Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Adams? Yes. Mr. Melvin?
Yes.
Mr. Oten, yes. Mr. Wendell?
Yes.
Ms. Boudreau? Yes. Mr. Lorraine? Yes. Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences, those absences being Mr. Grow and Mr. Paraloo. Item 6, ordinance amending ordinance number 6374 that levied and imposed taxes for 2020 on all the property subject to taxation in the parish of Lafourche, Drainage District parish-wide due to receipt of updated numbers. Moved by Mr. Adams for the administration, second by Mr. Jones. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item 6? One time, two times, three times? Anyone from the council? There being none, we'll move it to a voice roll call. Mr. Lorraine? Ms. Boudreau? Mr. Wendell?
Yes.
O10, yes. Mr. Melvin?
Yes.
Mr. Adams? Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences, those absences being Mr. Grow and Mr. Perillo. Item 7, ordinance amending ordinance number 6377 that levied and imposed taxes for 2020 on all the property subject to taxation in the parish of Lafourche, general alimony, due to receipt of updated numbers. Moved by Mr. Adams for the administration, second by Mr. Jones. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item number 7? One time, two times, three times? Anyone from the council? There being none, we'll move this one to a vote. Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Adams? Yes. Mr. Melvin?
Yes.
O10, yes. Mr. Wendell?
Yes.
Ms. Boudreau? Mr. Lorraine? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences, those absences being Mr. Grow and Mr. Perillo. Number 8, ordinance amending ordinance number 6373 that levied and imposed taxes for 2020 on all the property subject to taxation in the parish of Lafourche Health Unit due to receipt of updated numbers. Moved by Mr. Adams for the administration. A second by Mr. Jones. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item 8? One time, two times, three times? Anyone from the council? There being none, we'll move it to a vote. Mr. Lorraine? Yes. Mr. Boudreau? Yes. Mr. Wendell?
Yes.
O10, yes. Mr. Melvin?
Yes.
Mr. Adams? Yes. Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Motion passes by a vote of 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences, those absences being Mr. Grow and Mr. Perillo. Item 9, ordinance amending ordinance number 6372 that levied and imposed taxes for 2020 on all the property subject to taxation in the parish of Lafourche Library due to receipt of updated numbers 017. Mr. Adams for the administration. Got a second by Mr. Wendell. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item number 9? One time, two times, three times? Anyone from the council? There being none, we'll move it to a vote. Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Adams? Yes. Mr. Wendell?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Mr. Melvin?
Yes.
O10, yes. Mr. Wendell already gave me a yes. Ms. Boudreau? Yes. Mr. Lorraine? Yes. Motion passes, 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences, and those absences being Mr. Grow and Mr. Perillo. Item 10, ordinance amending ordinance number 6370 that levied and imposed taxes for 2020 on all the property subject to taxation in the parish of Lafourche public buildings due to receipt of updated numbers. Moved by Mr. Adams for the administration, second by Mr. Jones. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item 10? One time, two times, three times? Anyone from the council? There being none, Mr. Lorraine? Yes. Ms. Boudreau? Yes. Mr. Wendell? Yes. O10, yes. Mr. Melvin?
Yes.
Mr. Adams? Yes. Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Motion passes, 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences, those absences being Mr. Grow and Mr. Perillo. Item 11, ordinance amending ordinance number 6371 that levied and imposed taxes for 2020 on all the property subject to taxation in the parish of Lafourche Library due to receipt of updated numbers 014. Moved by Ms. Adams for the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. We'll move it. Anyone from the public like to comment on this? Item 11, one time, two times, three times? Anyone from the council? There being none, we'll move it to a vote. Mr. Jones?
Nay.
Mr. Adams? Nay. Mr. Melvin?
Nay.
Mr. O10, yea. Mr. Wendell?
Nay.
Ms. Boudreau? No. Mr. Lorraine? No. Motion fails by a vote of 1 yea, that yea being O10, 6 nays. You have the nays recorded, Ms. Carleen? And 2 absences, those absences being Mr. Grow and Mr. Perillo.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I want to change to yea. I'm sorry. I apologize. Can we go back and do that real quick? To change.
So you want to reconsider. So I'll just recall, so the motion failed by a vote of 6 nays. However, Mr. Melvin would like to change his vote, and I will allow it.
Thank you.
Let the record reflect that Mr. Melvin's vote is in the affirmative. The motion still fails by a vote of 2 yeas, being O10 and Melvin, 5 nays, and then 2 absences, those absences being Mr. Grow and Mr. Perillo. Got it, Ms. Carleen? Okay, it brings us to item 12, ordinance amending ordinance number 6369 that levied and imposed taxes for 2020 on all the property subject to taxation in the parish of Lafourche recreational facilities due to receipt of updated numbers. Moved by Mr. Adams for the administration. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Jones. Anyone from the public like to comment on item 12? One time, two times, three times. Anyone from the council? There being none, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. I'm sorry. We will move this one to a roll call. Mr. Lorraine. Ms. Boudreau. Mr. Wendell.
Yes.
Mr. Otan will be yea. Mr. Melvin.
Yay.
Mr. Adams. Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Motion passes with 6 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention, that abstention being Ms. Boudreau. 2 absences, those absences being Mr. Groh and Mr. Perillo. It's a lot of tongue-tied up in there. Item 13, ordinance amending ordinance number 6368 that levied and imposed taxes for 2020 on all the property subject to taxation in the parish of Lafourche, Road District Number 1, due to receipt of updated numbers. Moved by Ms. Adams for the administration. That's second by Mr. Jones. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item 13? One time, two times, three times. Anyone from the council wants to discuss this? There being none, we'll move it to a vote. Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Adams? Yes. Mr. Melvin?
Yes.
Mr. Otan's yes. Mr. Wendell?
Yes.
Ms. Boudreau? Yes. Mr. Lorraine? Yes. Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences, those absences being Mr. Perillo and Mr. Groh. Item 14, ordinance amending ordinance number 6366 that levied and imposed taxes for 2020 on all the property subject to taxation in the parish of Lafourche, Special Service District Number 1, due to receipt of updated numbers. Moved by Ms. Adams for the administration. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Wendell. Anyone from the public like to comment on item number 14? One time, two times. Last call for item number 14, 3 times. Anyone from the council would like to discuss? There being none, we'll move it to a vote. Mr. Lorraine? Yes. Ms. Boudreau? Yes. Mr. Wendell?
Yes.
Otan, yes. Mr. Melvin?
Yes.
Mr. Adams? Yes. Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences, those absences being Mr. Groh and Mr. Perillo. Item 15, ordinance amending ordinance number 6379 that levied and imposed taxes for 2020 on all the property subject to taxation in the parish of Lafourche, Veterans Memorial District, Ward 10, due to receipt of updated numbers. Moved by Mr. Lorraine for the administration, got second by Mr. Wendell. Anyone from the public would like to comment on item 15, the Veterans Memorial District, Ward 10? One time, two times, 3 times. Anyone from the council? There being none, we'll move it to a vote. Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Melvin?
Yes.
Otan's yes. Mr. Wendell?
Yes.
Ms. Boudreau? Yes. Mr. Lorraine? Yes. Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences are Mr. Groh and Mr. Perillo. I now entertain a motion to close public hearing and public meeting. So moved by Mr. Wendell, second by Ms. Boudreau. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Mr. Perillo and Mr. Groh. I'll now entertain a motion to return to regular agenda, which will put us at item L. So moved by Mr. Wendell, second by Mr. Adams. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Mr. Groh and Mr. Perillo. Item L, Parish President, Department Heads, Directors, our Manager Reports, Presentations, and our Updates. Number 44, Finance Representative to present the monthly financial report as required by the state agreed upon procedures for September 2020. Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So you guys were emailed the monthly financials, like middle of last week, I guess. We did the quarterly finance report last week, which is the PowerPoint. We do this monthly to meet the guidelines of the audit, so we'll do the actual PowerPoint at the end of next quarter.
Very good. Anyone have any questions with respect to the finance report? Do we have any other reports, Mr. President? That's it.
That's it for department. The only thing before you guys start to adjourn is just to remind everybody who's watching, I guess, live streaming tonight, continue to stay weather aware, watch the forecast over the next 24 or so hours. It seems like we're going to get some pretty bad winds and stuff, depending on where this track holds. Pick up everything in your yard if you haven't done it yet. There are a lot of Halloween decorations floating around. We don't need a pumpkin ending up in a culvert and blocking up the drainage for an entire neighborhood. All of our sandbag locations opened up today at noon. They'll be reopened tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. when the guys go to the barn. The mandatory evacuation for the area south of the Lee Ontario floodgates in Golden Meadow will go into effect at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning for those families who are down there, but more importantly to let Chet get his guys out of the port for the night crew and just stop anybody else from going back down there in the morning. We will have a shelter open at the Raceland Rec Center if we need it. We have our shelter staff ready, standing by in case anybody does show up. Other than that, just hunker down and we'll just watch the weather.
Very good. Top off your vehicles, top off all your empty fuel cans in case we have power outages, and for those who have chainsaws, make sure they're in operable order. And do not, public service announcement, generators must be well ventilated. They should never be in your house. Even under your carport, can be an issue, especially in your garage if it's a closing garage. We have been suffering more fatalities from carbon monoxide poisoning after the storm passes than during the actual storm. So it's a real danger. And please let your neighbors know the same. With that said, I'll move to item M, discussion. As we routinely do, I will recognize each council member if they have any final thoughts or discussion. Mr. Jones.
I'm good.
Mr. Adams. Mr. Melvin.
Just praying for a good outcome with the storm.
Mr. Wendell. Ms. Boudreau. Mr. Lorraine. Very good. I just wanted I want to wish everyone on behalf of the council a happy and safe Halloween. Hopefully we'll have some beautiful weather come Saturday. I will mention Lockport has Spook in the Park on the Bioside Park. It's starting at 6 p.m. on Saturday. We'll have free hot dogs, kettle corn, drinks, and it's a real safe place to be. The other thing I wanted to mention, just to report to the council and to the members of the public, that Golden Meadow finally, as of yesterday, got their $100,000 for their seawall. And I guess I should recognize Mayor Joey Buzigor, because he was really a pit bull to make sure that that happened. So we're pleased to say that we finally are off that. We've satisfied our requirement and we got that $100,000 to them. With that said, we'll move to item N, adjournment. I'll entertain a motion. So moved by Mr. Adams, second by Mr. Wendell, that there being no further business, the Lafourche Parish Council regular meeting of October 27, 2020 will be adjourned at 18:15. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absences. Those absences being Mr. Gore and Mr. Perillo. Whew.